Have you ever seen a photo of a deserted room and felt something was wrong about it? Well, you wouldn't be alone. In 2019, this very idea gave way to an internet nightmare featuring an endless looping maze of yellow wallpaper, moist carpet, and the deafening hum of fluorescent lights. It's a world where one wrong step can cause you to no-clip out of the physical world and into a labyrinth featuring millions of square miles of empty rooms and endless hallways. Today, we're investigating the internet phenomenon known as the Backrooms. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force, to another episode of Red Web, the podcast all about unsolved mysteries, true crime, and the unknown. I'm your resident mystery enthusiast, Trevor Collins, and joining me, probably not hearing this one for the very first time, Alfredo Diaz.
Oh, this is a big one.
Yes, sir.
I've only started knowing about the Backrooms within the past couple of years. The combination of this podcast, and we've talked about things and, SCPs, stuff like that. So naturally talk about Backrooms and everything. And then also to pile on top of that, the games. There were some Backroom games that came out that are really popular, and they keep flushing those out. And now we have a movie that's coming out as well that looks to be pretty good.
Yeah, that movie's actually coming out this Friday as of this episode coming out. It's like the perfect time to break down what the Backrooms are, because we all from the internet, you're right. We talk about internet mysteries, creepypastas, we explore spooky stories from the internet, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a great time to break down what the Backrooms are and where they come from.
Yeah, so, it just seems like this infinite hallway of infinite possibilities. And then from there, because I don't really actually know the true depth and understanding of the Backrooms, its origin, what it is, how do you get there, the rules of this place. So I'm very interested to find that out. But it just seems like a place that has infinite possibilities and various rules and things that happen. And so it just creates this catalyst for creativity, and the internet runs with it, and they create all these different sections and monsters and creatures and different things that are in it. And so it's just super exciting. I think it's even inanimate objects have their place here too as well, and things can be weird and creepy. And so
yeah,
it's exciting. And that's a big one. That's a big one.
It's a big one, dude. This is one of the biggest, I would say, kind of creepy pastas or just internet lore, that unsettling internet lore of the recent generation, if you want to call it that. We've uncovered a lot of creepy pastas from 20 years ago, and that's that kind of Gen 1 a little bit. So the internet generations are quick, but it's good to know where you're at, because your inclination is really strong. We're going to talk about kind of liminal spaces, what the background of the Backrooms are, and then going into the origins of it as an idea. Where did it get its start? Why did it grip the internet so strongly? And then how it from there forked out into a bunch of different directions creatively. You're totally right. A catalyst for so many different stories to be told, layers upon layers of new elements being laid into this. And then we're going to talk about the origin of the infamous image. I'm sure you've seen it and we'll talk about it, but that yellowy wallpaper,
yep.
Everything's kind of beige and yellow, and it just feels so weird. And we know where that comes from now. We'll talk about the evolution of it all the way up to modern day, because it's just so alive. The internet has its hold on it, and therefore it's this hive mind conglomeration of creative, interesting ideas. And then, of course, we'll end with the rules of the Backrooms. And then, as we are wont to do, we'll try to expand on this. We'll try to explore, what are the real phenomenons? What is actually happening in real life that might explain this from a creative standpoint? Because obviously it's a little bit more fictional, but are there real things that can feel very similar to what's going on in the Backrooms? And what are those things? So yeah, lots to uncover very, very quickly here at the top. As we like to do, we want to shout out our Patreon page, all the task force members that keep this podcast going. If you want to explore that, you can get all sorts of things, ad-free versions of this episode, exclusive content, extended versions, lots happening. Either redwebpod.com or simply patreon.com/redweb. That's where you can find us. Recently, we just did a whole bunch of exploration of the Matrix. We we talked about the trilogy, not the fourth movie just yet. We played Enter the Matrix, if all things went well, last Friday. So come hang out with us as we explore all that. And then this Wednesday, live, we are recording our behind the scenes show called Breakroom. So again, come hang out in our exclusive Discord. All right, lots to unpack. So, Task Force, whether you love internet mysteries and the unknown like we do, or you just want to know what the Backrooms are, and you want to know that before you go into this movie that's coming out, let's break it all down. So, The Backrooms is a viral internet creepypasta about an unsettling, endless, empty space. It is one of the most popular examples of what has been called liminal spaces. I'm sure you've heard this term, Fredo. Do you know, what is your casual understanding of what liminal spaces might be?
It's just this like infinite creative space.
Mm-hmm. I like the positive angle on it.
Yeah.
I know like the creepy, unsettling angle on it, you know?
Yeah, not the where anything is possible or a containment unit for all these like harmful things, stuff like that. So I'm going to go with that description, yeah.
Okay, I like that. Because yeah, liminal spaces can be anything. It's kind of up to the viewer's interpretation on how it makes you feel, but ultimately liminal comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. As such, liminal spaces are kind of like places of transition where you go from one place to another. In other words, places that exist purely to get you somewhere else. Usually these are not places that you focus on. These are things like hallways. You don't really go into a hallway to be like, hey, let's hang in the hall. Airports, stairwells, empty parking lots, malls. We did a whole episode on the mall world, r/the mall world, which is an endless dream world shared by thousands of people. And it kind of actually, now that I think of it, dovetails really nicely into the Backrooms. So after this episode, Task Force, go listen to our exploration of that very mysterious subreddit. But I have like 4 random images for you, Fredo, here to take a look at. Each of these comes from various subreddits like liminal spaces. So take a look and you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Oh, so the first one is just kind of like a, maybe like an eggshell white.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's a hallway, but it just has unnecessary like curves to it.
Yeah.
Just interesting. And it just looks like the most mindless hallway. Maybe one you'd find at a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like detailed ceilings that you would find in an office or a hospital. The walls,
sure,
it's got some railings.
This probably is a hospital, you know?
But there's like nothing on the, it's like very mundane. Walls are empty. Then we're getting creative. It looks like an indoor pool.
Mm-hmm.
And the indoor pool's got some like rocks to the side, maybe like a fake tree in there. It's got like camping stuff on the wall, but still lifeless at the same time.
Exactly. It's like, it feels like it should be alive, but it's lifeless.
It's very lifeless.
Yeah.
The third photo, it's like a courtyard. There's a concrete path. That concrete path leads to 2 doors right next to each other, going into the same wall. And so that already is unsettling.
Yeah.
You got some grass and then the blue sky. So it's like a false sense of being comfortable here.
It's like this beautiful geometry and there's like so much purpose here, but also not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's perfectly liminal. It is a pathway to these doors. You go from one place to another, and this is that transitional spot for someone.
And then on the 4th photo, it looks like what would be a diner, but it's just so many seats in a row.
Yeah.
Again, it feels kind of narrow too. Outside looks maybe, I don't know, kind of like it might have been snowing, but there's definitely overcast. You got some paintings, but again, lifeless. Colors are very, I mean, it's yellow. We got some green in here, some orange, but they're very dull. They're very bland.
Yeah. Very, very faded.
Very like maybe 70s style.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the first one, I don't know if it shatters the illusion just because I knew who I pulled these from and what they were of. I think the first one's a hospital. The second one, interestingly, is like a bunker that was designed to feel like real life. It's an underground bunker from like a post-war, maybe World War II era. So it's meant to feel like real life and it's got like backdrops and if you turn it around, there's like a house there. Very much like the show Paradise on Hulu.
Yep. Okay, so they're drawing from stuff.
Yes, yes. And then that fourth one I know is from a fairy. The third one is just someone's, I think, office, and that's a path they take all the time. But ultimately, you're kind of getting the idea. You look at these at a glance, and they give you that kind of weird feeling. And that's the idea, is that liminal spaces are places that once you've noticed them, once you focus on this kind of place, it tends to offer this strange, very uncanny valley sort of feeling, like something is off. Normally it's bustling and it is filled with people, but the fact that it's absent of life just makes it feel familiar, but just off.
And it's kind of extra unsettling knowing that this is actually, like, these photos are from real places.
Yeah, dude. Liminal Spaces, that subreddit is wild because that's all it is. It's just people living their life and going, whoa, check this out. Some are stronger than others.
Oh, for sure.
But like, even like just an empty road, just out in the middle of nowhere, and you see it kind of fall away from you and then curve back up into the mountains, and there's like no cars or nothing. It's like, it's nature mixed with something so human that it just, I don't know. It's kind of cool. Some are very like peaceful, and some are just like, this gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Completely agree.
In the case of the Backrooms, they are described as large, empty rooms with aged yellow wallpaper. And of course, you see those fluorescent lights, and those are described as just humming along, right? If you've ever been in an old office, those fluorescent lights just kind of hum incessantly. Now, to get there, one must no-clip or phase through a wall, a floor, some sort of surface in our reality, hence the name the Backrooms, like they are the rooms behind this reality. And Fredo, I know you're a big gamer, but no-clipping is essentially a video game term for turning off collision detection. You know, you're playing a game, your character's running along, they bump into walls. If you turn on no-clip, that essentially removes your character's abilities to sense that wall, and you'll just kind of phase through walls and ceilings and objects, and typically you can kind of just fly along. But since first coming online, and we'll talk about that very moment, the Backrooms have become such a viral trend that, as you pointed out, there's a movie coming out about it. It's gone mainstream through several different video games. There are a plethora now of spin-off subreddits that all have their own take on it. Like, some want to explore the more true Backrooms, and some want to have this kind of layering of lore that is built by a community, and some of them are just like sharing photos that look like they genuinely belong to the Backrooms. So, like I said, we're going to break down what the Backrooms are and where they come from, talk about some of the key features that have been added over the years. Now, the original legend of the Backrooms actually started not too long ago, May 12th, 2019, in a post from an anonymous user posted on the paranormal-related board of the online platform known as 4chan. This is the X board of it. 4chan, if you don't know what it is, it's like it's a very old discussion board reminiscent of Reddit, but usually much more problematic. Anonymity is the name of the game, but they have all sorts of conversations from like, I think A, B, C, D, all the way through the alphabet are all different themes of conversation. But in this particular post, the author included this image with the text, quote, "Post disquieting images that just feel off." And so with that, here is the very first image that spurred on the idea of the Backrooms.
Oh, yeah. It's like you got some cheap wallpaper. The ground is like, it's just tones of yellow, but like dull tones of yellow.
Everything is yellow.
On the ground, on the walls, and the ceiling.
Yeah, this is like a perfect, as I would say as a kid, like retirement home yellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. But also the walls don't really make sense. You have like a corner wall in the middle of a bigger room, a large room.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. It's like, what are you sectioning these off from if it's all just exposed?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a weird design as well.
I love that you clocked that because like it is a very good observation. We're going to talk about that. I think the revelation, like the truth, the origin of this photo will elucidate you as to why this layout is the way it is. But I think that very almost arbitrary layout, these like nubbin walls that are just kind of slapped up,
right?
I think adds to it. It just adds to the offness of it.
Oh, it definitely does. It's you don't see that. It's like unnecessary.
No. Yeah, you look in the living room and you see a room. You don't look in the living room and be like, well, hold on a second. Why is just like a a 10 foot by 10 foot corner wall with like the room goes back behind that. What's back there? What is this? Okay, so this photo, of course, is famously associated with the Backrooms. It had been on the internet for quite some time, several years before this ever came up. Some sources state that it circulated as early online in the forums as early as like 2011, but despite its mysterious beginnings in recent years, and I mean quite recently, the origin of this photo has been uncovered. I'll have you tuck that away in your brain though, because there's a whole lot to explore with that. It kind of crashed onto the internet after so many people, like a hive mind of people, were really trying to figure this out. And suddenly it's just that bubble burst. And then we found out. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, if this is a photo of a real place, that place exists somewhere.
Right. Yes.
Granted, it's a big planet and everything like that. So it's a lot to discover. And who knows if it hasn't just been completely demolished. You don't really know if it even exists or is still standing anymore. Regardless of that, though.
Christian, this man's seeing the future. What? I'm telling you, 5 minutes at a time, this man reads the future.
I can't see any further than that, man. I can tell you to duck out of the way or something. That's about it. I don't know if you're going to be rich or poor in the coming decade, but yeah. But then, I think, especially, over the past, I would say 5 years to a decade, I feel like Backrooms has become a lot more popular.
Oh, yeah.
And mainstream with the games and now the movie and everything like that. And so I can see it going from something that was so deep within forums to now something that a lot of people are learning about or researching or contributing stories or whatnot to. And so you got more people searching probably, or more people, the possibility of more people being like, I've seen this place, or my uncle works here, or something like that.
Dude, that's such a good point. Like, this feels like this generation's like indie bands, like when your favorite garage band makes it big and you're like, I knew them before they were big, like so many people were like, I was there when the Backrooms came online, when they were first there, when they felt so intimate and like the community was so small. It's one of those very, very interesting things to then see it leave the internet, become so mainstream. I mean, I think it just speaks volumes to this liminal space, this uncanny feeling that is created by it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Kane Parsons, who is directing the new movie, had a big hand in the online forums and
really?
Like the creative of this space. Oh yeah. I've got plenty in my notes about that here in a bit, but like, it's just really cool to see those who were fundamental in its growth and in its development are still kind of in the saddle, rather than like the world going, oh, you guys like that, it's mine now.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really cool to see this evolve, but still stay true to the community it was built by.
Yeah, because also, I mean, I don't think anyone can really claim it. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
And so with that in mind, you have to have someone that's so directly invested in it. Mm-hmm. They're making the right steps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to do it right, you have someone that knows the source material, etc., and then that's how you get it done.
Yeah. So coming back to this post, okay, somebody posted the image and they said, hey, share other images that just make you feel weird, make you feel off. And the way 4chan works, if you're not familiar, I don't encourage you to go, especially these days, but basically, like, if nobody responds to a thread, it slowly falls off. I would say slowly, it quickly falls off. It's a very rapid, in the moment kind of conversational board, and once it's fallen far enough back, it just gets deleted. It's gone. So this gets posted. A few people probably share some photos or what have you, but soon after posting, there was yet another anonymous user. And while they didn't supply a new photo themselves, they did offer a text reply. And this is what is widely considered to be the origin of the name and some of the lore of the Backrooms. Hey Task Force, this is Trevor, taking a moment in the episode here where we would normally have a sponsor or something like that to just say thank you. This feels like the old days when I used to stop down and give the housekeeping notes as to what's going on in the world of Red Web. But this week I wanted to point you to redwebpod.com because we are coming up on our 2-year indieversary, and we're able to do this and still be independent 2 years on, very much thanks to all of our Patreon members, again, at redwebpod.com. Now, I'm sure you've heard the spiel because I like like to talk about what we got cooking over there every single week. We have weekly exclusives going on, but if you're new to us or new to the task force on our Patreon page, let me just give you a crash course. You get this podcast absolutely ad-free. You get access to our exclusive Discord channel where all of the task force community gets to talk more about the episodes each and every week, kind of theorize together and share some thoughts. We also do live events over there every month. And then we also have Movie Club, the first and third Fridays of every month. We've got gameplay series. If we do ghost hunts, there's exclusive content from that, deleted scenes, behind the scenes material. We have a 15% store discount. We have our Break Room podcast, which is kind of just a behind the scenes show to get to know us a little bit better. We have research outlines. We have monthly polls, so you can kind of choose what happens or what topics we cover on Red Web or Movie Club or scary stories now that we have that. All sorts of goodies. I mean, we have shout outs at the end of every episode. Again, there's a lot going on, and we continue to build this out as a way to say thank you for keeping us viable and supported all of these years. You know, when we first started out doing this independently, we just wanted to go out on our own terms. We had no idea how long we would continue to do this. So thank you for allowing us the privilege of doing this as our jobs for these past 2 years and hopefully many years to come. So again, to get access to all these exclusive benefits and support the show directly in the most meaningful way possible, head to redwebpod.com, share this podcast with a friend, or simply review us. Boost us in this ever increasingly algorithmic world so we can continue to find new task force members to keep this party rolling. All right. Thank you so much, and back to the episode. So they respond. They don't give an image. They just say this, quote, "If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." End quote.
See, that happens in the games too, where you just, there's a level that I've played where it's, halls that look like this. And then from there, it's just random. There might be a random creature and you have to go find stuff. You have to figure out the puzzle for this place, etc. And so, yeah, I mean, that is a very good description of it all.
Yeah. And it's so vivid. It is such a short but powerful idea. Like it offers endless, like you said, endless possibilities. It's like you're just in this place. This place can be anything, but it is endless. It's just mysterious. And it's the perfect spark of curiosity. And so, yeah, it's no wonder this took the internet by storm.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as you can imagine, when something comes online this strong, this interesting, it makes its way around very quickly. So the Backrooms did make their way to Reddit just like a few days later. And the subreddit r/Backrooms was created on May 17th, 2019. Now, Reddit, if you don't know, is a collection of communities. They're broken up into subreddits. They all have their own rules and their own kind of communities, and they're all built around specific topics like Backrooms or the mall world, or r/funny, where everything is supposed to be funny, or r/moms and boats, where it's just moms and boats.
They got every category, I'm sure.
I don't know if moms and boats exist, but it could.
I tell you what, there's dudes in boats for sure. It's dudes in boats, and guess what? Fish.
There's definitely dudes in boats, and there just happens to be fish too.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of dudes just like happily holding their fish in the two poses, and the two palms in their hands are just holding it straight up.
Absolutely. Now from here, it just continued to spread. People became fascinated with this image combined with this short but powerful idea of what the Backrooms are. This endless maze of yellow, moist carpet with the fluorescent lights. I think we all know a place like that. Now, of course, most of the users involved here are anonymous. That's just the way of the internet. But according to a Medium article about this, it was written by a user named The Backrooms Online. This article says that the original comment about the Backrooms, the one that provided all the lore, was made by a user named Black August. And at a cursory glance, I do believe that this was a user that also writes horror stories. And so, as you can see, you can feel that flair in there.
Yeah, it makes sense. But the cool thing is that, it's this catalyst where anyone else can also take part in.
Yeah.
And so, sure, there's going to be a ton of stories that aren't that great. But, if you have 10,000 submissions, you're going to find a handful of gold in there, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just curate the best ones at that point. But it's a great little sandbox that this person has created for others to contribute in.
Absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the internet is that we've always, you and I, as we talk about true crime and other internet mysteries that we've explored here on Red Web, we've always kind of talked about it as being the new frontier of true crime, whether it be investigative or trying to figure things out. The hive mind of the internet can do that. But also on the other end, storytelling, creative, the hive mind that comes together and like almost democratically says, we like these elements, we don't like these elements. And it all just kind of bubbles and flourishes and just froths until it becomes this amalgam of so many different voices. And it is a greater whole than the sum of its parts, right? But several months after the original post now, this thing has been cooking. It is now September 22nd, 2019. The user Black August posted once again saying this, quote, I wrote the original Backrooms paragraph. I've been so weirded out to discover it's suddenly a small phenomenon. So they essentially claimed that they had no idea that it had gained all this popularity as they had never gone back to their original comment, which makes sense, right? Because 4chan is a very fleeting place. I think at the time, the Medium article I was talking about, they said only 4 people had replied to that original message regarding the Backrooms lore. It was, for all intents and purposes, lost to time and lost to the internet. If it weren't for one other anonymous user, they grabbed the original picture and they grabbed Black August's kind of paragraph on the Backrooms. This is still on 4chan. And then they combined them together and then put them on 4chan. That was the catalyst that really got it to in front of people.
Oh, so he made it, but he wouldn't actually post it on 4chan.
Okay, so it's like somebody posted the image and said, give me more weird images. The user Black August responded with the paragraph.
Right.
And then a third user basically
put the two.
Yes, he put the two together, which begins this idea of a like hive-minded story, right? With 2 people first.
Got it. Yeah, someone had an idea of just like, give me these pictures. And then he gave it this, essentially the blueprint. And then someone took that and it was like, okay, let me combine this and put it out there. And then, I mean, definitely surprised because then you just saw a post on 4chan, wrote a paragraph, right? Probably didn't take you that long. And if he's this creative writer, then probably just put it together real quick. And all of a sudden you find out sometime later, it's like, oh, it's massive. Everybody's into it. It's creating this whole thing.
And they're all pointing to your post going like, whoa, this is it. Like it was that person's photo, your paragraph, and a third person deciding to put them together.
Yeah.
That began this like domino effect of a plethora of voices adding to the chorus. But I wonder if they're involved. Again, this is not about the movie, but I really do wonder if this person, this Black August user, is at all a part of the movie in some way. But
yeah, but I mean, usually what they'll do is have them come to like the premiere and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. But also, this is just, it's the internet at its best.
Yeah,
where this is literally 3 creative minds coming together. And even the person that's like, I take these two things and I put it together, wouldn't exist without that person putting it, right? You kind of produced it in no sense. Like you have these two, you have maybe someone that shot it, with the picture or requesting pictures, and the person that wrote it, and the producer's like, okay, we'll put these 2 together, post it up, and then it became this whole big thing. But it was the trio of them that like made this happen. Again, the internet, right?
that's wild. Yeah, like 3 people in isolation at the right place, the right time, with the right just taste. It just makes you think of all of the wild stories that blip on and off, like a spark. They're suddenly on the internet and then gone, right? We almost didn't have the Backrooms because of how fleeting this platform is. But as you can imagine, since then, r/Backrooms has only continued to grow, with members adding more lore to the legend. I did go to subredditstats.com. Because of API changes, this website only shows you up until the very end of 2023, but here's a graph of the users over time. You're going to see the growth of this subreddit for 2019 through 2023.
Yeah, so 2019, we had some gradual growth, I would say up until like 2022, and then just a massive surge. And so we started around 2019, below 50K, 2022, probably about like 135K, 140K. And then 2022 to, what was that, 25?
That ends Jan 1, 2024.
2024. Yeah. And so now we're pushing like 280. And so we've just had a massive surge.
Yeah. So today it is at about 352,000 subscribers on this subreddit. So it is still quite healthy.
Even then, it's going to see a boost too with the movie.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure it has through all the marketing. But I'm so glad you pointed out 2022, because that huge bump right there, that's the effect Kane Parsons' videos on the Backrooms had on this conversation.
Oh, I mean, again, it becomes more tangible, right?
Yep.
It goes from these, if you know forums, you know 4chan, you know Reddit, things like that. But when you start taking it into a bigger platform, making videos you put on like YouTube, then that's very mainstream internet.
Yeah.
You got dads and moms on YouTube, just, that you would never see, or just people you would never see in a forum.
Yeah. So like YouTube is almost like the mainstream version of the internet, ready to bust out of the internet and move into, I guess Hollywood now. But yeah, Kane Parsons' videos had a big effect. We kind of have a separate conversation around him and because he's the more modern evolution of the Backrooms. So again, another thing to pin there. But eventually the idea of additional levels started to be introduced, as well as the idea of entities that inhabit the Backrooms. Of course, the initial lore implies that someone might be there, someone listening, whether it be another visitor like yourself or something more sinister. Now, I think this is also the time where a different subreddit split off. I have it later in my notes, but ultimately there was a r/true Backrooms. It focuses solely on the original story of the Backrooms, because not everybody was kind of in agreement with the levels or these entities or other ideas. So LitBeep was a Reddit user who kind of made this split off. But let me know if you've heard of any of these. So we'll talk about level 0 through 5, and then the pool rooms. So level 0 is the most accurate to the original Backrooms photo. So long, empty rooms, hallways, etc. They seem to go on forever, very much reminiscent of the wallpaper you see in that photo. And this is also prominently featured as what we're going to see in the movie. Level 1 is an empty parking garage made completely of concrete, and this is something we have seen when you, me, and Christian have played Escape the Backrooms. Level 2 is said to be a hot, narrow tunnel system, often compared to maintenance tunnels underneath a building. Level 3 is a complex of derelict maintenance halls and utility tunnels filled with electrical machinery. Level 4 is said to be a sprawling complex of barren rooms and cubicles resembling a modern commercial office building. And level 5, all of these kind of come from the fandom wiki for the Backrooms. So thanks to all the users and community members who have pulled that all together. But level 5 is said to be the Terror Hotel. I'll quote the article here. Quote, presumably an infinite, ever-expanding hotel complex, complete with all the sections a luxury hotel should have. End quote. So kind of like expanding into every liminal space you might know of or might stumble into, and basically taking all the places that we could all possibly see and then folding them into the Backrooms lore.
Yeah, and having played the game, it gave me a very vivid representation of all these, because these different levels have different rules and different things. And yeah, again, this sense of familiarity, but this eeriness that's underlying throughout all of it, right? Because you're not talking about a haunted mansion or an abandoned hospital. We're talking about like offices. We're talking parking garage, which parking garage can be scary, but you don't really think of it for the most part walking around in real life. And so it's like all these normal, mundane places with this really eeriness to them.
Yeah, especially when they're empty, and especially when you start to layer in the ideas like, oh, that's not just an empty hotel that already feels weird with these long, repeating hallways. No, this is the Terror Hotel. Like, okay, well, that's all you needed to say to really freak me out, you know? But then there's other things known as the pool rooms. I don't know if this is on a particular level or not. And I first came into contact with these pool rooms, and I don't know if this was Kane Parsons. I really struggled to find the original TikTok videos of these because I just don't have TikTok anymore. But whether it was Kane Parsons or another creator, there were like guys in hazmat suits casually wandering around the back rooms, poking around. Less of the VHS aesthetic that Kane Parsons uses, but what I started to notice was like you would just get glimpses of like these never-ending stairwells, but then you would also see these pool rooms, and it gave you this false sense of security. You would see other people in these spaces, so you'd think, okay, maybe I'm safe because there's other scientists here. But then there would be like sudden dangers where suddenly it'd say enter here, and you'd go in there and then the floor would drop out, or the walls would crush you, or you would go down a water slide that missed the pool and fell into infinity. Like, it was so cool because it gave this idea that sure, there might be entities lurking around corners, but really it's the back rooms themselves that are kind of hunting you. Like the space is alive and forcing you or encouraging you to get lost or accidentally get hurt in some way. And so the pool rooms are so special for me because like you see pools, you see water slides, you see like the inflatable beach balls, and you're like, oh, this feels much more calming.
Yeah.
But then it just isn't. It's just, I love that like, oh, you feel safe, but you're probably less safe than ever.
Right. Because it also strengthens the lore of a mundane looking room.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's this eeriness to it. There's something that feels off. And it's like, oh, yeah, because the space itself is what's after you, giving you this false sense of comfort. And it's not necessarily a creature that's attacking you or weird noises. It's like, no, just what you think is normal and you think is safe. You have to question everything because you are in a space where, I don't know, maybe, you know, it's an entity. The space is an entity, and it's like, it has motives.
Oh, God. Ooh. Yeah, I want to hold on to that because one of the more real concepts that we're going to talk about does center around a space that might be conscious. I don't know. It's fascinating. But like I said, you know, a lot of people kind of started to disagree on what direction the Backrooms should go. And less than 2 weeks after Backrooms made it to, you know, Reddit, r/True Backrooms was created May 29, 2019. And it's not that anyone was disagreeing. It wasn't like some sort of civil war, but I think it showed that the popularity begot so much attention and so many different creatives that then like there are now r/The Backrooms and all sorts of other kind of offshoots of the parent idea.
Yeah. I'm sure it got so big to the point where people are like, I feel like it should be more in this direction, or I feel like everyone, again, right? You mentioned the whole your favorite band blowing up, and so a lot of people might be like, you know, it's too popular, which is such a weird thing. It's like, it's just too popular. I want to go back to like the old school backroom stories and vibes and feels of it. Not this new age, everybody's, you know, overly popular ideas of the backrooms.
I do like the idea. These are the true backrooms, everybody. So come over here with me. I mean, like you could read into that.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting those vibes. Like the backrooms. I'm like, okay.
Maybe it's kind of more of like, you know, phase 1 backrooms or like early backrooms, you know? And I like that idea too, because it keeps precious the original spark, but also allows the thing itself to grow. So like, however you want to try it, it's just a testament to how phenomenally popular this became overnight, essentially. The lore is growing so fast in these early stages. People feel very strongly about it. That's fandom, baby. Now, today, I mentioned how many subscribers there are, but the Backrooms subreddit has 143,000 weekly visitors. I think 143,000 weekly visitors is a healthy amount of traffic for such a specific concept. I don't know. It's so cool.
I mean, look, it's something that people can get behind.
Yeah.
And again, it's this fantastic little sandbox that was built where you have a baseline blueprint for what it is. And then you can go in there as someone that's just a viewer, a reader, or you can go in there and add any layer of creativity to it, right? You can type out a whole novel if you wanted to in the Backrooms, or you could throw out a simple line that makes people think and then makes people want to elaborate on.
Yeah.
So it's just so many different things. They didn't come out and be like, these are the rules and it's like this. And these are the hard set realities of the world and the story, etc. It was just very simple.
So as we go forward, I want to go backward. Before we talk about the modern iterations and evolution of the Backrooms, I want to talk about the origin of the image itself. So as a refresher, Fredo, if you want to take a look at that yellowy Backrooms image to remind yourself. Now, according to some sources, the true story behind the infamous Backrooms image wasn't widely popularized until 2024. So for a little over 5 whole years, people were like eager to figure out, okay, we love the Backrooms, but we want to know more. Where did this image come from? Because it's now so important to the community. It's so important to the zeitgeist here. The natural inclination is to poke and prod and figure it out. Well, on May 29th, 2024, there was a Twitter user by the name of @TJXZ_Z who posted announcing that their friend had found the origin of the image. However, another user @RFKG_me replied to a post from a privated account in 2019 stating this, quote, "For what it's worth, I've probably found the source image here." And it's a link, hobbytownoshkosh.com/DSC00161.jpg. EXIF says it's from 2002, end quote. So just to get your eyes on these 2 tweets I'm talking about, take a look at this next image here.
That's way earlier than I thought it would be.
Yes, that's as old as 4chan is essentially, and Reddit.
Yeah.
Now, Task Force, if you want to take a look at this image, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, or we post these images on our Instagram account @RedWebPod.
Yeah. It's a post on Twitter. My friend found the Backrooms location. It's in Wisconsin, and these pics are from 2003. 20.6 million views.
Yeah.
And then someone created, I've probably found the source image here. It says from 2002.
Yes.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, again, the fact that this is a real location, this is a weird, creepy place.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the pictures. It's so empty.
It's so empty. And we'll talk more about, because there's now 2 pictures. You have the infamous Backrooms photo, but now there's like a sister photo. And it's of the same place, but a different location within that place. And equally weird, but not in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It doesn't really look like a place that's been used a lot.
Right.
It seems so clean and sterilized, but just old.
Right.
In terms of design and colors. And in this picture, there's 2 buckets on the ground. So it's like the carpets look like it looks like a carpet. Yeah, it's just so lifeless.
Yeah. So we'll talk about them buckets here. But for the tweets, let's unpack just real quick. So that tweeted link is now inactive. So if anybody went tapping away while they're driving and listening to the show, you won't be able to go to that link. You can go to the Internet Archive. You can type that in, and it doesn't show the images, but the website has been at least mirrored. But again, it seems that this link used to house these images. And for the record, EXIF means exchangeable image file format. This is what houses a photo's metadata. So for example, if you take a photo on your phone, it will know the lens, the focal length, the model of phone you're using or the camera you're using, sometimes your coordinates, but also, most importantly, the date it was taken. And that's how they were able to figure out when this photo was taken, 2002.
Okay.
So this would have sparked or kind of rekindled the virality in 2024. Internet sleuths, like I said, had been hunting for this original image for years. And finally, we have a breakthrough for longtime Backrooms fans. So long story short, the image was reportedly found using the efforts of several members of the Backrooms Discord community, and it turns out these images were taken during the renovation of a former furniture store located in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So I think, Fredo, that might explain the strange walls and layout, because these would have been half rooms, like tables, chairs, and furniture would have been set up almost like a rooms to go kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Because then instead of just putting a bed in a big open space next to other beds, this would be your way of dressing it up.
Yeah, so you can kind of envision.
Again, like you said, like IKEA. When you walk in and they have these, and I'm sure if you stripped out IKEA, it'd be like the same thing, right?
That would be
right.
That would be a perfect liminal space.
Yeah, all these half walls and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's because they display what a living room or a kitchen would look like here.
Yeah. I also love that you mentioned like it both looks unused, like clean carpets and everything, but also looks old. That's something I hadn't really put my finger on. The fact that it looks so old, like it looks so 70s, but yes, aside from a few stains here and there on the carpet, it does feel fresh and new. And so that doesn't really like, it's like if you built a brand new house today, but made it vividly in the 60s style.
Yeah.
It would be cool. No, like I would love that as an Airbnb, but it would feel very strange because it feels out of place.
Yep. Yes, it would.
Because you don't see a lot of vintage, at least locations, that are that fresh, right? There's some life lived on them, crushed carpet or what have you. Okay, so Oshkosh, Wisconsin is where this photo comes from. Roner's Home Furnishings operated out of this building for several years. In 2003, however, a new tenant moved in, making this the new location of the American hobby store known as Hobbytown, hence the URL that we mentioned earlier being hobbytownoshkosh.com. So this was in that transitional period in 2002-2003 where it was a furniture place, became empty, they started to do some renovations, some cleanup, some this, that, the other, and then it became Hobbytown. I don't know exactly what Hobbytown would look like, so that's why you have this oddly strange place. To your point, if it was IKEA becoming an indoor golf place, at some point there's going to be an empty IKEA before it looks like the empty golf place.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I don't know, hobby place, I'm sure they got little tchotchkes and weird things and maybe just an amalgamation of everything. So I could see it.
Yeah. What's interesting, again, I don't have any photos of it at this time, but sometime that year, right, 2002, 2003, the second story of the building underwent renovations. The progress photos that would eventually become the Backrooms here have eventually been figured out to be taken specifically on June 12th, 2002. And that's the next image I had for you. That's the one where you can clearly see the buckets off to the side. And that's the one sign of life that kind of indicates, oh, okay, yes, this is part of a renovation. That's why these buckets are here.
Got it. That's the buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, I mean, wild, but also it's like, why are you taking a, I mean, unless they were a part of the renovation or something like that, it's like, why are you taking a picture? This is the most boring, mundane picture ever.
It is pretty boring.
But they took it and it became this whole thing. But I'm just still just like, what? Why are we taking a picture of this?
Why are you taking a picture? You know, it's like the Backrooms are predicated on a bunch of random things that need not have happened, right? Like,
yeah.
Why take a photo of this place, put it online? How did it linger around for almost 20 years before someone found it strange and posted it on 4chan? Then it found an author who decided to drop some lore and disappear with a smoke bomb for several months, for somebody else to then combine them all, and then a spark was kindled and lore was dropped and people freaked out and a movie was made and you know what I mean? Like, there's something so uniquely internet about that. I'm so obsessed with that. That's so interesting.
That's the thing though. It's just like, in the same way, if you write something, they always say like, come back the next day or later with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
It's the same, the same thing. It's like, it's on the internet, it lives there. Someone came out with fresh eyes and was like, you know what, this is kind of creepy. And it's like, hey guys,
you know what, this kind of creepy.
Isn't this kind of creepy? You guys got more creepy photos? That's pretty much what it was. The guy's like, this.
Like Dave Chappelle, you guys got any more of those creepy photos?
Yeah, creepy photos. This would kind of creep me out. You got any more?
You're right though.
That's what it was.
You're right. Man, I should post more. I should just post some more insane thoughts because you never know when it's going to spark. Someone's just going to see something.
You have no idea, right? And again, is someone else compounded on top of that?
Let this be a lesson to you, task force. Shoot your shot. You never know when you might birth a Backrooms or something like that.
Birth a Backrooms.
Don't think about that. Okay, so you asked a question. Why were these photos taken? Well, Fredo, would you know it if I had an answer for you? March 2nd, 2003. Oh, we're going deep. We're cutting deep. These photos were posted. They were taken and posted because Oshkosh, the branch of Hobbytown here, they had a blog and they wanted to document their renovation. They wanted to document their move to town. It's 2003, baby. We make content via pictures right now.
Yeah.
.com bubble just burst. And so now it feels like anybody that just the regular Joes can get online now. So yeah, in this blog, they described the area that had extensive water damage. and it required it to be vacated entirely. It's unclear how internet sleuths were able to trace this photo all the way back to the now archived site, to be honest. I know, again, we talk about the Discord channel and all of that, but I think some of the details might be lost to time. Some people kind of did some sleuthing on the side, found some answers and brought them in, and so we don't know everything they did behind the scenes. But I love the idea that moist carpet was part of the original lore, and it turns out there was water damage. I don't know if they felt it when they looked at the photo or what, but they knew.
Moist carpet. Carpet in general could just be really gross.
Carpet's pretty gross, man.
You know? And so just on top of that, you just talk about like wet carpet. That's just nasty.
You don't want carpet you could stick a straw in.
Oh, what? Why would anyone do that? That's a new ick unlocked, bro. It's just
Truly.
why is there that much water in the first place? And then,
Right. Well, who knows? You know, Steve from Massachusetts had to take a little bit of a potty break while he was visiting Lobby Town. Or
people do weird stuff, dude.
Wait, I said Lobby Town. Now that's a building I'd hate to see. It's nothing but lobbies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's level 6 of the Backrooms. Okay, so what's interesting is, and you kind of asked this early on, and it's why I say to Christian, our guy in the chair, our producer behind the scenes, that you can read the future 5 minutes at a time, because you asked, was this place demolished? What does it look like today? Was it changed fundamentally? And the answer simply is yes, because since then, right, beyond Hobbytown, the space has been converted to an indoor radio-controlled car racetrack called Revolution Racing. Subsequently, the eerie layout seen in these photos is now long gone, but you can go take a look now online at what Revolution Racing looks like.
This space is just constantly being transformed from one C-tier location to another C-tier location.
C-tier, just honestly though, kind of.
A furniture place to a hobby place, a indoor car racing. It's like, I mean, I would go and just watch cars do the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's cool. But I mean, these are just just random niche C-tier locations to go to. You know what I mean?
There you have it. I posted the images here. They're kind of blurry because they're from like Facebook, but that is what the inside looks like now. It looks so much smaller than I would have expected.
Yeah, it's actually smaller than I thought.
And it's kind of like part of me weeps, you know, maybe avert your gaze if you don't want the Backrooms ruined, maybe. Nothing against this business.
I'll be honest, this is sadder than the Backrooms.
Honestly, yeah, take those people out of it and it becomes its own new liminal space. But nothing against Revolution Racing. You guys do your thing. I would probably rent one of them little race cars if I was there as a kid, but it's just not the same.
See a lot of exposed ramps and like tape and piping and...
Okay, that first image I posted has all those like metal posts in the middle of the floor. Come back to the photo with the buckets. Are those metal posts inside those square posts? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that where the track is?
No, they're not big enough. No,
they're not big enough. Well, I mean,
are they inside the square post?
Yeah, because sometimes they put a decorative post around an actual support post.
Maybe because those posts would be pretty ugly. How far is that left side wall? You see, there's no left side wall there.
Renovation, you know, you could do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's true. Maybe it wasn't a fundamental wall.
Yeah, load bearing.
Yeah, it wasn't a load bearing wall.
Yeah, that's just a drop ceiling too. Okay, let me count the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4 in this bucket photo, and 1, 2, 3. I don't know if it's the same size of room. I feel like there's more posts in the old bucket room. Anyway.
Or is the pillars in the back?
Pillars in the back. Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me see this. I don't know. Either way, the space is the same. For some reason, I'm just trying to see if these photos show the exact same spot.
I know. We're like, where are the angles that match up with it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, if you're in Wisconsin, you're hanging around Oshkosh, by gosh, go over to Revolution Racing, get yourself a couple of drifts in, you know?
I'm sure they know it's the backroom location.
I'm sure they do. Okay. Let's talk now about the evolution of the Backrooms and the modern day. So the fascination of the Backrooms has continued throughout the years to the point where anyone's mom might have heard of it by now. And many people, as you have pointed out, Fredo, have used it as a creative outlet or a point of inspiration. Now, unlike the mall world, the subreddit that we talked about at the top of the show, the subreddit Backrooms isn't kind of this suspend your disbelief and tell your stories about how you got lost in the Backrooms or share your experience. Like the mall world is a shared experience where people have dreams of the same endless mall. And it is this very interesting phenomenon that even our researcher, Kat Cardenas, had kind of dreamt of and didn't have any idea that it was a thing. So counter to that, this subreddit, Backrooms, is more layered in with the creative endeavors of people kind of giving ideas on different levels, giving recreations of liminal spaces, whether it be in Roblox, Source Engine, Blender, photos that they've seen like in person, or other kind of platforms that they've used to generate Backrooms. For Backrooms video games, there are ideas for different encounters with different entities and what the rules might be, what levels they might belong on. Like I said, there's photos of other liminal spaces. All of these things continue to layer in, and I think that is part of the unique element here. Now, this is where I want to talk about Kane Parsons. In 2022, he was 16 years old at the time, and he posted a short horror film on YouTube called, quote, "The Backrooms Found Footage," end quote. You can go see that. I've seen all the internet's content, but I'll at least show it to you. But there is a screenshot I have for you here from that short.
Oh, I think I've seen this image before. I think you showed me this image before.
Really? I wouldn't be surprised. But what are you seeing? What is this entity?
It just looks like a bunch of wiring wrapped around like just a standard frame, like a stick figure frame.
Yeah.
The arms are as long as its entire body, excluding the head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got a rectangle of a head. It just... You wouldn't think anything of it because it's just so minimal.
Right. It looks like Slenderman, but made out of coat hangers.
Yeah, coat hangers.
He's all black and staticky. But yeah, that's one of the, if not the original entity of the Backrooms. There have been many others since. But you kind of get glimpses of him around corners. So when you look back, in this short, he'll look back and you'll see the entity just walking out of frame, just out of sight. But the user was Kane Pixels, aka Kane Parsons, and the video was met with much success. He then decided to create a series of short films introducing new plot points to the Backrooms, adding to the lore much like everyone else, and each film kind of continued with this evolution of the lore. Now, Kane Parsons, I mentioned him, he is, I think, 19 or 20 now at this time, but he's the one directing the A24 horror film based on the Backrooms.
Yeah.
And again, we're not like sponsored by the movie or anything, but I think what I love about it is that it, one, looks so visually similar. Two, it uses the exact same rules and concepts of like no clipping through a back wall, and suddenly they find this space and they start to explore, and it very much feels like his short films. And then three, it's actually in a furniture store, which is an homage to the actual furniture store that this photo was taken from. So I love that kind of authenticity in a way. Like It feels true to the story and the lore that we've all built.
It really does. And so I don't know, it gives you faith in the movie, right? It's someone that is, again, so ingrained into the culture of it all. So it's like, oh, okay, let's see what you can do. This seems pretty cool.
Now, before we explore the real phenomenon that may be behind some of the lore, some of the inspiration for the Backrooms, let's talk about some of the rules when accessing the Backrooms. This won't be exhaustive because, as you can imagine, with like 7 years of lore building now under our belts, it is deep, it is fascinating, but it is complex. So we're going to kind of take a higher level to it. So of course, you enter the Backrooms by no clipping out of reality. We mentioned that before. In Backrooms lore, this is typically an accidental event. Like in the very first short film, Parsons shows somebody filming a short film and they back up to shoot a wide, and then he kind of just trips on something and falls through the street and then falls 10 feet down onto the floor in the Backrooms. That's how we got there. Now, there's a lot of ideas on how one can increase their chances of getting to the Backrooms if they wanted to, whether it be to research or explore or what have you. One of those chances is increased by finding what's called a rare terminal. These are glitches that allow you to leave your current dimension. Per the Backrooms wiki, examples include walls that are a shade darker than normal. Sometimes they don't cast shadows. Doors that did not exist previously or maybe appear out of place. and areas that give you a sense of unease, very much like these liminal photos. If you're planning a visit to one of these places, there are a litany of items that users have recommended over the years to protect yourself from the labyrinthian journey home, and that is if you can even get home. So, these items include a first aid kit, backpack for any discovered items or any items that you're bringing with yourself, weapons, but not anything that would cause a lot of noise because that would attract unwanted attention. So they say usually melee weapons that can be concealed, something like a machete. A watch to keep, I love this one, a watch because you want to keep track of reality, because time is personal in this place. If you start wandering around, you might spend weeks or months and have no concept for where you're at or what's gone on. There's something about this place that kind of makes you forget time and space.
Okay, I like that. That's a really cool little, like, I mean, the item in itself feels very productive and has kind of like a lore meaning to it.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this is part of it, but I've seen some videos where like people have split up, and for one of them, it's been real time, like a few minutes. And the other one was like, I'm starving. I feel like I've been in here for days and I'm just now finding you again. Like, yeah.
Because it's personal, but it's just, it's, that rule is very strict. Dang, okay.
Yeah. So bring yourself one of those automatic watches that's not quartz, no batteries. Keep your wrist moving and it'll stay powered. But of course, they say bring food that will last because you don't have any idea how long you'll be there. A sleeping bag for one, a sense of normalcy, but also two, it's more comfortable than the ground, and there are some cold levels. Apparently, some of the levels are like icy cold, and so you want to be able to sleep in the warmth. Then you got things like hiking boots, light jacket, durable clothes, because you never know what you're going to get up to or what might be scratching you or catching onto you. And then, of course, a flashlight, because some areas of the back rooms can get oddly dark. Yeah. So if you find yourself in the back rooms, it's imperative that you stay calm. You try to orient yourself to figure out, okay, where was I? Where am I now? Look at your surroundings. Take deep note of it, because this will be kind of your home base, because you don't want to go wandering off and get lost. Some people say that staying near where you came in is your best way of getting out. But most others say that you should just kind of accept your fate.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, kind of come to the conclusion, come to the idea that you will now be able to explore, but the only thing left to do is survive and extend your life, because there is no getting back.
Yeah, I'm not the main character. I'm not him. You know what I mean? Like, to think that you are him, it's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's what it is. I mean, would I wander? Yeah, because it'd be boring as hell to just stay there. But am I thinking like, I've got this. Let's figure it out. Let's do this. Look what's happening. And like, I'd be like, dude, I'm gonna wander, and if I get lucky, I get lucky.
I feel like that's maturity. My adult brain's like
just giving up. Just being old, you just give up.
Yeah. You're just nothing. You're just another guy, you know? But as a kid, like, you have this sense of immortality. And this is such a small example of it, but like when I was young, you know, we grew up kind of like where we moved was in the middle of nowhere until it wasn't. And so houses were starting to be built. My dad being a builder, I was very, very into the idea of houses being built. And so Indiana also had basements, which we don't have in Texas. And so when a house was being built, they would dig out the basement. And so you'd have this like 6 foot, 7 foot hole in the ground. You know, obviously basements are usually deeper than that, but not too deep. Anyway, I would jump down in there. So I'm now like a 4 foot kid down in this like 7 to 10 foot hole. Because one, I wanted to just kick around in the dirt. You know, on the other hand, I wanted to see, can I get myself up out of this? It was just put myself in a difficult position just to see if I can get out. That's that sense of like childhood immortality. So I feel like part of me would be like, this isn't impossible. I can get out. But adult me would be like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, you were like, let's do this, you know? Like, you've watched so many kids' Disney Channel movies or the wild things are happening, but yeah, we're jaded as adults.
But when you got nothing but Tommy Pickles and Codename Kids Next Door, you know, you feel like you could do anything.
That's what I'm saying. You know, people just do all these crazy stuff, and then you cut to a commercial, and then one of the actors is like making the Mickey symbol with the wand and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, Yup. And I'm like, whoa, I'm back. We're back. I could do it. What's he doing now? Wow, he's fighting the government. No way. He's too cool in the spot. Yeah, no. And the doll, you're just like, it's over.
Yeah. So I don't know. You end up in the back rooms. Odds are you should probably just accept your fate. And upon accepting your fate, your mission now is to survive. Try to get back home. It's unlikely. It's set to exhaust you. That's kind of maybe the intent of this place, is to exhaust you to death, which makes this place feel sentient in and of itself outside of any entities. Don't go making noise. You're going to attract one of these, I don't know, gangly, like wiry things. But there you have it. The origins of the backroom and some of the rules that surround the lore. But now, what we do on this podcast, Fredo, you know very well. We discuss strange internet lore among many other topics. But now it's time to assess real-world phenomenon behind this idea. Because we ask the question, are the backrooms real? Of course not, right? We know that there's no proof of any sort of backrooms existing. This would be a break in physics for them to exist, as interesting as they are. We know it's a fictional concept, but interestingly, there are some very real concepts that might have helped shape the idea of the backrooms and how they have come into our lives. Maybe even why it triggers such a fascination with us as people. So first up is the concept of being awake and conscious while you are dreaming. That's the idea of lucid dreaming. Many attempt to lucid dream so that they can control the physics and the story behind their dreams. They want to create realities of their own with rules of their own. And melding these concepts, some people have reported consciously attempting to travel to the backrooms or a backrooms-like dimension via lucid dreaming. And so people have actually tried to, while dreaming, control their dreams and actually, can I go to the backrooms? Do they exist in some way? Or can I manifest them in my dreams? Obviously, in your dreams, I would imagine you can. But as a big fan of lucid dreaming, I haven't done it in quite some time. But as a kid, I used to try it all the time. And it's like this really interesting balance between like, you got to stay calm, because if you get too energized, you'll wake up. And the way it looked for me was like I was getting pulled up into a void of white while the dream fell away below me. You know, like when Neo says to Trinity, guns, I need lots of guns. And they're in that white void.
Yeah, and then the whoosh of racks of weapons come in.
Yeah, it was like the opposite.
Yeah.
So if I went, oh, I'm dreaming, I'd go whoosh into the white void and then I'd wake up.
That's weird.
Yeah. So then I'd go, I'm dreaming. Hold on. Stay cool. Stay calm. But if you stay too calm, you kind of like, you fall into the illusion of the dream again.
Right. It's a sweet spot.
Yes. So there are many methods, if you're interested, Task Force or Fredo, there are many different methods that people try to use to enter the backrooms in their sleep. One of them is the staircase method. It states that you visualize walking downstairs or through a door while falling asleep to enter a dreamscape. There's another version, it's called the mirror method, which requires you to look into a mirror in your dream while you're lucid dreaming, and that kind of makes it easier, they say, to transport into the backrooms. I would say if you want to lucid dream in the first place, you need some sort of logical anchor. I was just talking to a task force member today in our Discord about this because they are an active lucid dreamer, and for me, it was always like, associate the question of, am I dreaming, with some common actions. For me, it was like flipping a light switch or scratching my head. So if I happen to do one of those things in my dream, it would trigger my question of, am I dreaming? Because some people would do reality checks, like I look in a mirror, I don't see my reflection, I'm dreaming. I flip a light switch, it doesn't turn on, I'm dreaming. And so like once you hit lucidity, then you could kind of consciously try to move yourself into the back rooms, which would be, I think, truly terrifying.
Yeah, you're already in this weird headspace, let alone going into one where all you know is this creepy, weird stuff that happens and low survival rate. Just a negative area.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
That's a big choice. And it's like, again, it's one of those things that we commonly say in the daytime, super brave. Once it gets dark, once I'm in that place, we've been to some big, open, abandoned places. Once you're there, it feels wrong.
Yeah.
And I think you would quickly want to wake up.
I wouldn't want to sit in it.
So slightly similar to lucid dreaming, some people believe that the backrooms are a form of astral trap. An astral trap is a layer of the astral plane that someone may enter by accident while sleeping. The astral plane, beyond just D&D lore, is like this idea that there is a plane or a dimension of existence beyond ours. It's just some other metaphysical realm. And it is said that, depending on your spiritual beliefs, like your consciousness, your soul, your spirit, what have you, might be able to go there. Your consciousness might be able to move across different planes of existence, right? So an astral trap can also refer to the act of restraining astral beings from leaving the astral plane, or basically a consciousness that might get trapped outside of your body, but in this astral plane. That's another iteration of this. So from our casual understanding, it would seem that most cases of astral trapping would be kind of intentional, like almost like an attack, like luring people in. And if that's what the Backrooms is, or if that's what it's inspired by, this would make sense, because the Backrooms would then be preying on people, having them fall through reality to no-clip into this space, unable to leave from there. And either an entity hunts you down or your exhaustion kills you, but then you kind of... Does it just take your energy? Is it living? It's like eating you?
I'm assuming it's eating you, but not in the sense that you think, like, traditionally.
Yeah.
Right? In the sense of like taking your energy, your life force, draining you.
Kind of like the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. It very much preys on your mental state and any sort of latent psychic abilities, the shine, in order to create visceral events of violence that it can then feed on. It can feed on your shine, your psychic ability, or it can feed on the violence that then become echoes, ghosts of that. And so, yeah, like this feels very much like that. How can I lure you into my massive maze of self, and then you just wander around until you're gone?
Yeah, until you're nothing, you wither away.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm feasting.
Mm-hmm. So this does kind of explain, from a kind of more real world spiritual sense, why the Backrooms might be inescapable. They kind of go on forever with no way out. And then, of course, we kind of already talked about this at the very beginning, because it is a liminal space, but it does very much rest on liminal spaces. In fact, I do think that is the inciting incident. It was a person asking for people to post places that feel off. And so this leads us back to where we started, liminal spaces, and that very weird, creepy, uneasy feeling that people have when they see a space that is usually filled with life, that is no longer populated. It is empty. It's isolated.
Yeah.
It is a transitionary space that now becomes uncertain. In fact, recently, Fredo, you and I recorded an episode on the RMS Queen Mary, which is an enormous ship that's now like kind of a hotel you can stay at there in California. But when we were looking at the photos of those hallways, it kept giving me this like, oh, I don't like this kind of feeling. But that's exactly why it's this like liminal space. It is a place devoid of life that should be active. Like, for all intents and purposes, it has all the signs of action and activity.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, it just feels off, drained, and eerie. It's just this place, man. It's this place with its weird subtleness to it. And I don't know. The extra level of like, this is an actual place you can go visit. But also kind of speaks to like real life.
Yeah.
Some places where it's like, oh, this office is just so draining or so boring or mundane. Or people go like, I hate going to the hospital. It's just so boring and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, because it looks boring as hell.
Yeah. It's beige.
Yeah.
It's whites. It's creams. It's just very non-stimulating.
Yes.
Now, I looked at a bunch of threads because up until this point, I'd never really defined liminal spaces. I just knew what it was as a feeling, and I wanted to know how other people felt about it. And so across the board, most people feel negative emotions. Most people feel that unease, that uncomfortable feeling. I saw people saying it made them feel sick, like they find these spaces terrifying, creepy. Some find them relaxing, some find them fascinating, some find them nostalgic. Ultimately, I think liminal spaces affect everybody based on their own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are like, it's making me sick and stuff like that, it's probably because they just have bad experiences with like, I don't know, maybe like a hospital or whatnot, you know what I mean? And so like their experience there goes to something, it's tied to something emotionally.
Yeah. Now, outside of the feature film, which we mentioned a few times, the Backrooms has truly broken the bounds of the internet and gone on to become kind of a household name, or a household word, I should say. Not only are there a bunch of like stories built around it, there's a bunch of online content, but there's games. It was also adapted into an episode of American Horror Stories, the anthology series, which I didn't even know existed. There's American Horror Story.
Yeah, then there's American Horror Stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I fell off kind of, I don't know, season 7 or 8 around American Horror Story.
Yeah, seasons are hit or miss.
So I need to get back so I can see the American Horror Stories. But anyway, they explore the Backrooms in an episode. But all in all, the Backrooms is now known as one of the most famous creepypasta stories of all time. And I think that is almost undebatable. You could easily put this top 5 greatest, creepiest internet lore, internet stories that has ever kind of, at least right now, at this junction.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, it's blown up into the mainstream, right? You don't do that without being good and being popular, and so I would totally say that.
Well, any final thoughts as we kind of come to a close on the Backrooms? I'm so glad we finally got to explore this, man.
I mean, a big topic to cover. It's cool to know its origins, and again, it's just wild that we'll cover something that happened either not too long ago or forever ago, and then there's still things being discovered. Again, we cover mysteries, right? But to see sometimes, I mean, a lot of times, like an update or a new discovery or information that was added to it. In this case, like we found the original location and photo and everything like that. And so it's just like, oh, this is really, really cool that you can just keep learning about these things. Because I'm sure the Backrooms is like a favorite for a lot of people. And the fact that it's like, there's new stuff, that's exciting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially for the, as I kind of roughly said, the more modern internet. You know, there's a lot of creepypastas from like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And a lot of those were like, I remember those when I was like younger and I read them and they were impressionable and I'll never forget them. But then they just are what they were. You know, they were a story that made an impact and then time did away with them almost. But this one is one of those unique ones that I think it will continue to evolve. It will continue to live. And that is, again, to reiterate, why I love internet scary stories so much.
I agree.
All right. Well, Task Force, as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting us for another episode. If you want to, you can share this episode with a friend of yours that you know likes creepypastas or maybe just unsolved mysteries. That way you can kind of talk about it over dinner or over the campfire. Shout out in specific to this week's Task Force members. We have Viscera Rabbit, who is our newest member of the elite team. Thank you so much. We have Courtney Brothers, who is our buff scientist of the week. And then for our squonks, we got Dakota, Wolf472, and James Hill of the Many. So thank you guys so much. If you want to support us directly, as these Task Force members have, you can do so at our Patreon page, redwebpod.com. But with that said, Fredo, I'll see you right back here next Monday for yet another mystery.